I can't remember the exact phrase you guys talked about, and you probably had a nicer way of putting it. But as your audience gets larger, there was like do you remember what you said, Jack?
Jack's got to have a saying about this. I think Jack said.
Oh, right.
The dumber they
probability
get.
that you have yeah, like on average, right? It's just like a statistical fact. What is it? The bigger your audience is, the dumber they are. Or something.
Yeah,
it's like
on average,
it becomes.
This is a numbers game.
Well, yeah, on average, you're making a statement that implies averages, right?
And also, NIA listeners, being such a small, tiny podcast means everyone listening to this.
We cannot scale past the like 180 IQ down.
Yeah,
we'll
stuck. Never be on the other side of the midway.
Absolute polymath geniuses listening.
Seriously, man.
We appreciate it. Yeah.
You're
going to have to dumb it down a bit more, boys. We're going to have to be a little bit less informed if we want to grow this pod.
We got to do more more vibes, less facts. I mean, we way too many facts.
Welcome to another episode of Not Investment Advice. We've got the NIA boys here today. Trung Phan, Jack Butcher, Bilal Zaidi. What's going on, boys? Last week's episode, aka what we just recorded in full transparency.
We did that. We're doing a double record. We had a great episode today with Erica, former CEO of Barstool Sports.
Smashing
and
it.
Food 52. That was amazing. That was great.
Yeah.
Any top line from that, boys?
Go on, Jack. See you.
Good paradoxes in there. I like the only talent you want is talent that doesn't want to be managed.
Yeah, that was good.
I like that.
That was good.
You want to know what the great thing about that is? It's a lot of confirmation bias too. It's like, man, I'm tough to work with. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That means
I can't follow instructions. Track. That must mean I'm a genius.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but thank you, obviously, Erica, for coming on. And this week's episode, Bilal, you had some questions.
Because Jack was busy signing some stuff. We're going to talk about that. So Jack, we obviously talked about your art project from last time, the auction you had. Want to hear about that when we get into it, but also specifically, you also raised a bunch of money for charity, which is amazing. So we'll talk about that too. But you are manually doing the opposite of what we've talked about for years, the digital leverage, the Navalisms, the Eric Jorgensen stuff we talked about. This is the opposite. You were manually signing stuff 35,000 times and you live streamed it, which was pretty impressive. You had 14,000 views on you signing for several hours. So we're going to talk about that and the kind of idea of AI and art and AI and crypto coming together, about verification, what makes something unique, and this idea of there's been a bit of a controversy, you said, in the AI art world. It came out, their work was actually AI. So we want to discuss that in a bit. Trung's also been writing about mastery. So we want to break that idea down, what mastery is, and go into that a little bit more detail.
It's signing something 36,000
exactly,
times.
Exactly.
Jack, how long was that? How long did that take?
It was like 30 hours altogether.
Oh my God, dude.
Now, how was your hand feeling? Could you not write for a week after that?
I have tennis elbow in my other arm, but this hand, no problem at all. And you know what's funny is I was thinking about it. It's it's not that weird to write for 8 hours if you're a writer or something. At one point in time, that would have been a normal job, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
just using a pen all day.
But when was the last time you wrote for more than 20 minutes?
Never. I've never done it, but I'm saying it's like everybody asks that question. It's oh my God, is your hand all right? It's
no,
it's not that crazy of a thing relative to, I don't know, one generation ago, it wouldn't be considered.
Yeah, but do you know what I'm thinking of, Jack? When you're writing an essay in school and you got that day, you're you're smashing it out and you're scribbling everywhere. And I remember just leaving, my hand was just aching.
Well,
I think a lot of that is because you're trying to race, you're trying to get as much
all your
bullshit in
out
there as possible, as fast as you can. Yeah.
How have we not thrown in the one joke? Bilal's been dancing around the joke.
I thought about it, but
your
I
wrist
was trying
is
to
tired.
be the bigger man.
What's the joke? I got a good one for you guys. You guys will laugh.
Jack's face.
The charity wankathon. Have you heard that one?
Wait, what is that?
No,
never heard of this one.
It's an office quote. It's an office quote where he's Gareth. You remember Gareth? He's got the wrist training thing, and Tim goes, "So when is the charity wankathon then?" And he goes, "I don't know, but you'd win it."
Oh my God, that's ridiculous. Well,
I got a funny one.
Sorry,
Hold on,
Jack, this might be getting too dark really quickly, but you're making me for some reason think of soggy biscuit. Sorry, this is going off.
Oh yeah,
I didn't. Do you know about this, Trunk? Because you're not an English guy.
Is it a thing where you gotta like do the biscuit in a group of guys?
There we go.
Okay, yo.
It's a very rugby school, rugby team thing to do.
Bro, this is our 2R rated.
This is what Erica said it. We're not afraid to talk about things others aren't. So I'm just trying to keep it real here.
Well, let me hit you with a funny one. No, more relatable one than the soggy biscuit was people, for the love of God, if you Google it, like prepare yourself. Be sitting down.
Definitely incognito that one. You don't want to see the results on that one.
You don't want the AdSense ads chasing you for guys that are searching for that.
The retargeting ads across the internet. Can you imagine that? Jesus Christ.
No, here's the last funny one before we get into Jack's thing is my buddy used to wear a Fitbit on his wrist. And we were looking at the movement times. It's all 6:30 in the morning. Well, what the fuck is your wrist doing at 6:30 in the morning?
Trunk kept it going. I like the way you said, let's move away from this. So you just kept it going.
No, but like the most inactive person ever spikes at 6:30. Like, good Lord, man. This dude needs a morning tug with his coffee.
His morning gym time. There we go. All right, let's switch it up real quick. So, Jack, tell us about, you mentioned your hand didn't hurt. We can move on from the childish jokes.
That joke.
But no, genuinely, how did it go? You raised almost 200 grand for charity as well in this whole process, I think it was. Was it 190? What was it in the end?
189 something, yeah.
Incredible.
Decent.
Nice. Matt, coming from where I worked in the charity world, to raise that amount of money for charity is a lot. Like that's not easy to do. So respect.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, it was basically the whole, I think I tried to explain it a couple episodes ago, but this idea of just playing or testing this thesis that you can have a digital original and you can have copies of a digital original that are specified as such that actually make the original more valuable, not less. You know, so there's like this huge, in my mind, misconception in the digital art market where people are trying to mimic the dynamics of the traditional art world, right? So if you're an artist, you're like, oh, I'm going to put out 5 pieces a year, 10 pieces a year, whatever, and I'm going to hope that some esteemed art collector of extreme means is going to support me, right? And it's like a really, really, really difficult thing to get anybody to pay you $1 for a piece of art, let alone 10,000, 100,000, whatever it is. So it's basically a proof of concept for this idea that the more copies exist, the more copies that people are willing to exchange money for, essentially, the more valuable the original becomes. So it was a 24-hour open edition of the same artwork that went live exactly 24 hours before the Sotheby's auction opened. And those were like $5 or $6 each, with the whole platform fee going to St. Jude's, right? So 35,000 of those were made. 35,262 was the final number in 24 hours, which ended up being that $189,000 number, that donation. And then the one of one, the original, sold for $36,000. The same image
itself, yeah.
The original at Sotheby's, and that physical piece that I signed 35,262 times was this commentary on. It was this contrast of labor and leverage, right? Like I created that image, and at the same time, there's like this complete disconnect between my hand and the infinite ability to replicate that image, right? So the number of signatures on the physical is basically like authenticating by hand the number of official copies of this image that exist that now accompany the original, the first one that was ever inscribed. A lot of the conversation around like the notability of art, you take the most extreme example in the world, like a Mona Lisa or something, the notability of that image is perpetuated by every postcard, every fridge magnet, every like pillow, every like lowbrow replication of that image possible. And if the internet is the native medium, this idea of cutting out the middleman and like getting your art into as many hands as possible. In my mind, there's a market or a solution exists where somebody with $5 should be able to collect your work, and somebody who wants to buy originals and be a patron of the arts at a different level can also collect your work. And the fact that more people own the copy, is not devaluing the original, it's actually increasing the value of the original. It's more proof that people are willing to exchange their resources to own this thing, right?
Yeah.
And that to me is like that was the core idea at the center of all this, was to prove that idea.
Wait, hold on. Let me
Makes
walk
sense?
through here. So this was like a philosophical project as much of it as an art project. As
for
saying,
sure.
you're saying there's this perception in the old world, or the economic lens is this: if something is widely distributed, commoditized, it has less value. All things equal, right? You're saying
Right.
actually, because a lot of Jack Butcher's work is about attention. What you're saying is, how many people are turning their attention on my work into a purchase decision, right? They're putting money, which is the next level after attention, because that's the full commitment. And you're saying, actually, by distributing more work, I'm proving that this is more valuable. This is a mechanism for digital art to prove something can actually be more valuable.
Yeah.
Does it hit a
let me
wall
quote-
though? Does it hit a wall?
Yeah, I think it does at some point. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. But as a actually massive supporter and collector of my works, he goes by Schmripto. He was just on a podcast last week, and he made this incredible comment or statement, I should say, where it's like, luck, and this has been said in different contexts, but luck needs surface area, right? The probability of your success as an artist is contingent upon you having a lot of art in the world. Like, the analogy he used is like, if you want to sell chairs, you want to open a chair store, and you have one chair, how do you think that's going to go? People show up, if you can even get them there, and be like, hey, here's my
Well,
product.
What if the chair was at the end of a bed in a hotel room?
Infinite market for that. Obviously, it doesn't matter what the chair is. But this idea that if the internet is your medium, the number of pieces of work out there, like the number of nodes that exist in that network, are actually supporting this idea that more people want to own the thing. And we're operating on this like arbitrarily scarce medium anyway, right? It's like you can arbitrarily say there's only one copy of this and then direct competition towards it. But at the same time, the thing I'm fascinated by is the person who is interested in buying the original, the number of people that want to own a copy of the original actually is indicative of the value of the original, no? If there is a distinction made between those two things, it's like that idea to me is. I also had this. I can't find it. I've been looking for it for months, but there's this video of Elon where he's talking about the Model 3. It's like, do you understand the level of demand that you create by dropping the price of something by $500, $1,000, whatever it might be? Like, you can operate in this world where you think the difference between, if you're like run a car company, you think the difference between a $35,000 car and a $30,000 car is a couple hundred units. It's thousands
massive.
and thousands and
Oh, yeah,
thousands
it's
of units.
massive.
Yeah.
Because there's this huge mental
that-
cutoff for buyers.
That's why I'm saying that misconception exists everywhere, right? It's like it's in any business that operates at scale, or any the Ferrari, you go and buy the $700,000 Ferrari at the dealership, or you buy the trainers, the t-shirt, the shoes, the whatever it is. And there's obvious, like, huge differences in quote unquote utility in those scenarios, right? One is a engineered supercar that takes that like thousands and thousands of hours to build. But in something that exists purely on the internet as a like conduit between people in a market where people have already expressed interest in like collecting these objects. I just wanted to explore that contrast. And yeah, I think there's a I think it proves something. So it was a interesting experiment, raise some money for charity in the process, which also, you know, potentially distorts the result if there's a charity component to it. But as you say, like over time, I think you get to a more accurate version of what people actually want to own and collect as a function of doing this, as opposed to arbitrarily enforcing scarcity on a medium that, you know, it doesn't have to exist that way.
Well, 100%. Thanks for sharing that, Jack. I wanted to just say really quickly, we haven't done a meme in a week. And even though this is coming out in a little bit of time, we are talking about crypto, what you're talking about, and AI and signing things. So we have to really just reference this because it is literally the whole timeline right now. Have you guys, I know, Jack, I know Trung, you already posted this one, but Jack, have you seen this one already? So this is
of course,
the CEO and co-founder of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, signing breast. I mean, come on, boys. This is, if there's ever a top signal, it is when
the signing meta, boys.
There we go.
Wait, hold on here. Hold on. Bilal, he's signing a top of a come on, man.
Close enough.
Come on.
I mean, this is incredible. I mean, look, this is,
What's your
I just want to
NVIDIA
acknowledge
exposure,
this
Trung?
Yeah.
Not enough. Well, here, you'll laugh. You'll laugh. Here we go.
Exactly.
Here, you'll laugh. Netcap girl has got a hysterical account. Read her caption on this photo.
I've seen it. Oh, but yeah, my man knows a thing or two about silicon. It's incredible.
Great account, by the way.
Yeah, she's hysterical. This is a photo again where Bilal had shown signing a halter top, and the caption here is, "My man knows a thing or two about silicon."
I mean, his grin, the guy's reaction in the back. So this could be an hour episode here on its own because that was phenomenal. And I'll just say there haven't been many times in recent times where I go onto Twitter and literally every single post for about 9 posts were the same thing. It was just everyone with their different takes. The one I shared wasn't actually, he didn't even make a joke. It's just very descriptive in that one. But that one was perfect. But yeah, that really is the merging of AI, NVIDIA, and sign-in things, verification, one of one. I mean, how much could she be selling that dress for? Let's be honest. This is definitely, I mean, if you're talking about pieces of art one of one, she can sell that for more than most pieces of art. Let's be honest. That's a meme in itself now.
Well, what does Jack think? What is that one of one
Jack's
worth?
the valuation guy here. He should know.
Jack, what do you think?
I don't know. I don't think. Yeah, maybe so, but maybe give it another few decades when.
There we go.
It's like what a president that signs a document, the watch that they were wearing when it happened has a certain amount of value.
Yeah.
Maybe the pen. Maybe the pen will confer some value too, but it's going to take a while. Somebody wrote in my feed, it's like, this is the image newspapers will use in 100 years after, AI has reshaped the fabric of society.
Yeah,
this is the moment AGI arrived.
We're definitely in like, I don't know, we're definitely in a very, I saw in Austin Boys actually last week, Jack Rains.
Oh, he's a big Jack Rains.
Friend of the pod.
Yeah, friend of the pod. Don't know if he's listening right now, Jack.
Man, I don't know if this is a fair attribution of Jack's outlook, but the man is a skeptic.
Yeah. Are you talking about in general or just crypto or in general life?
No, I would say like maybe technology narrative specifically has
I can
a
see from
healthy
his
skepticism
tweets,
applied.
Yeah, that's often his filter.
We sat down for a little bit to talk about this stuff, and it is hilarious. Like the amount of narrative around like the eventual implications of stuff is such a fascinating. It's very similar to crypto in the sense that the narrative has to outpace the current implementation by many, many orders of magnitude in order to sustain that price movement, right? Like Bilal, remember you sent the God made a bank the other day,
Oh yeah,
the sailor
incredible.
narrative.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. By the way, for
Yeah,
people who
can
haven't
you read it?
seen
You
this,
gotta read it out loud.
I think it was a video. So, but let me see if I can find. While Jack's finishing your point,
I think that I can maybe summarize the start of the video. It goes, okay, let's say hypothetically I'm God and I make a bank, and in that bank I put 21 million Bitcoin. I don't know if he actually said Bitcoin, but he said 21 million or something. Anyway, the incredible thing
real
about
quick,
this
the
stuff is
tweet
like,
says, Jack, sorry, Sailor compares Bitcoin to a bank in heaven run by God. That's all you need to see.
it's so much
That's-
better.
that's
That headline
better.
is
No,
so
we
much
need-
better. Yeah.
We need to talk through because
So ridiculous.
hold on, Jack. Can you, as much as you can remember, this is exactly what you and Ranger are talking about. How the narrative has to outrun the reality, right? We need to talk about what Michael Saylor has called Bitcoin over the years, because if God made it, this is the peak.
I mean, that's
What
up there with
could possibly-
sugar-powered Tesla thing he said on ours.
don't
Like, the
know.
amount of things he's had is ridiculous.
I mean,
Man, I don't- but I
encrypted
think
ball
the-
of
the-
energy.
Well, you know me, boys. Like I'm still in the camp of Bitcoin out. What was the word I would use? Remember we said the best inventions of the last 100 years or something. Still firmly in that camp. That like
Yeah, okay, I remember
sound
that.
money and
Yeah,
like people converging on a. Actually, I have a podcast to send you boys where, maybe my favorite summation of the value proposition of Bitcoin was coined, and I never heard of the guy before. It said an apolitical unit of value. Very
That's
good.
it. Apolitical unit of value. Okay.
An apolitical unit of value that like cannot like eventually if nation states converge on this thing, the ramifications and the potential, reorganization of so many disparities that are caused by the ability for governments to essentially manipulate currency. Inevitable, whatever sailor clip you can insert there.
Deflate the
But
currency.
I do think, a political
Inflate it,
unit of
sorry.
value is very, very powerful way to frame it. And then I forget what I was even started talking about here. The conversation I was having with Jack is like, I would love to be back in my consulting days right now, just fly on the wall in an ad agency or a consultancy or somewhere that's just like, guys, we have to come up with an AI use case. We just have to like do some consumer facing bullshit feature to put in an app that makes it seem like, we're on the ball here.
Yeah.
And this is not me downplaying it at all, but it's like, it has those qualities, right? Where you can kind of extrapolate and imagine anything in the same way that when we talk about, remember the X app and the reframing of that as like the literal everything app is like, what is the PE ratio of an app that can do anything? Infinite, Tron. It's infinite. What is the ROI on intelligence, on human progress, on the automation of labor in all of its facets? The line goes in one direction.
Infinite. No, but then this is
It's a
perfect
perfect
'cause
narrative, and he's a great representative of it, right?
I will say, so I've seen a lot of Jack's Jack Rain's tweets specifically around. Yeah, you know that he talks about autonomy, AI, crypto. Very skeptical in a good way, right? Because he's obviously super educated, Columbia MBA, very well read, great writer, and well, the key with Jack is he's a funny guy, right? He's fucking funny. And
He
can
gets
be a
away with it
skeptic.
because he's
Yeah.
funny. Because otherwise, he will sound like a grumpy, like
You'll sound like a
old
curmudgeon
person.
otherwise,
Yeah.
right? But it's like he's coming from it from a really funny angle, a shit posters angle, that type of energy. I do appreciate it. I did want to bring back to something Jack said about for listeners that might have missed the episode, what Jack Butcher, our Jack, is referring to when he said Bitcoin sound money is the greatest invention in 100 years is we did an episode. What is the greatest invention in the last 100 years? Me and Bilal were like, I don't know, man. Like curing polio, that's a pretty good one.
Oh my God, yeah.
Nuclear energy.
Wrong.
The automobile, internet.
Wrong.
Jack just goes,
Wrong.
sound money.
yeah, ridiculous. We thought Jack was joking, but he obviously
You know what?
wasn't.
In 100 years.
I'm not.
No,
We'll probably still be recording this in 100 years, thanks to sound money reorganizing society to the extent that we all have access to life extension.
We get the
technology.
Brian Johnson pill going.
Well, what I was saying,
boys.
debasement, right? That's what I meant. The debasement of currencies bleeds through all of society. Whereas Jack's saying if you have very sound money, you're building a resilient society. You're building a society that's, what's the word? That has contact with reality, right? I love that idea.
Exactly.
Contact with reality. Funny money does not have contact with reality. Now, I think we should talk here about a long tweet that Jack sent our group chat. It's from Nick Carter, I think a crypto investor, and also builder, startup guy. He had this great tweet about AI. He's very on the train of AI will reorder society. People will lose jobs. A lot of things will get automated away. But he had a very interesting angle. And I'll say one of them, and I want Jack to untease the second part. The angle that I found super interesting was kind of his conclusion. He knows that AI is going to reshape the world, and he seems much more bullish than a lot of people. And he's quite invested in a lot of startups that are doing it. And he says what he's actually worried about is because the social change, which he says is on par with the Industrial Revolution, on par with the internet, maybe even more than the internet, will be so disruptive that governments will definitely start moving more towards socialism, as in there will be a mass movement against this disruption. And as an investor and just as, I guess, maybe a more libertarian bet, he's concerned about that. So I found that interesting. The other part, which is more related to Jack's part, is in this world where AI creates information at zero marginal cost, what does that mean for crypto? Where does crypto play a part in that?
Well, I think what he's referring to in the end of the post is this idea of the ability to sign something cryptographically in order to verify it was you. Not that it's true that it was you. And the thing that I've like tried to articulate on this is like this idea of your signature becomes this cumulatively verified thing, right? Just because somebody signs something once, it has no real bearing on the truth of it. But reputation tied to something that is signed by a private key that only you have access to, like after you've signed 100 things, 200 things, 300 things, in the same way that your Twitter account accrues reputation, right? By, posting consistently informed or funny or whatever it is you're known for, takes the idea that there is still this like interesting tension here where like it reminds me of the debate about like putting real world assets on chain, for example, right? Where people are like, there's going to be the ability to verify a pair of trainers or a watch cryptographically. And it's like, nothing, you can't make the leap between those two objects, right? You could like engrave something or you could like reference the digital version of it. But there is still this, like the act of signing something doesn't necessarily mean you produced it, right? It means that you're kind of attesting to it. And I think he uses that language. It's like attestation.
Well, so
you're
Jack,
putting your reputation on it. Would you say?
Jack,
exactly.
for people who haven't read,
that is the act.
Sorry, Jack, just really quickly, just to frame it as well, that part of the long thread is he's talking about AI and the post-truth era, right? Is this kind of related, what you're saying?
Yeah.
So essentially, if you think of all the AI-generated videos, the deep fakes, images, even art, which we'll get onto a little bit as well, in that world, he's saying, basically signing that to verify is my understanding of that when I read it, that's the importance of it. Am I understanding that correctly from what you guys took
Yeah.
from it as well?
Yeah, that's my understanding of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
so
we should definitely direct people towards this post to get
Yeah.
the full read on it.
But I think that makes sense because I would break that into two parts. One is agreeing with the problem of like, as more and more, you know, like these videos that have been generated are absolutely insanely good. Like I genuinely can't tell the difference of some of them now. Like the way, how good they're getting. And I think we're moving to an era of, by default, you got to assume stuff is fake. Because the amount of content that's going to be created, like, you know, honestly, us, like, on a tiny scale, we've got hundreds of hours of content of us online, right? Speaking. You can pretty much get us to say anything you want with AI now, unfortunately. And so you could do that for everyone. And so the point is, if you get, we're not really famous, but like if someone's actually famous and they get them to say something wild, by default, I think the next generation are actually better at this than we are, because we've grown up in a world where everything was, you know, just a regular person saying it. Once in a while, you got a deep fake. But if you actually speak to younger people, a lot of them are just like, oh, well, differently. Yeah. And in the same way, our parents, you know, I don't know if you get this in your family group chats, but they'll be sending those, you know, remember like in Hotmail days, you would get the chain letters and they'll be like, forward this to 27 people or you're going to die, like that vibe. I get that in WhatsApp all the time. And then I also get like the video, which is clearly AI, like real AI voice on it, like the default AI voice. And they were like, oh, like, look at this. And, you know, I'm not calling my parents out specifically, but it's just a generational thing of not being exposed to those things just yet. And, you know, for us, I think we're better at deciphering that. But even us, we're almost too old as well, because we've seen enough of the real stuff where our brains by default think like that. Younger people, a lot of them, from what I'm hearing, they're just like, oh, no, that just obviously is fake. So I'm just going to assume it's all fake. And so that's kind of a weird world you're kind of going into.
No, that's a good world, actually, to have max skepticism.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I think everything, actually, this language in the post is all content will be assumed fake unless attested to. But this is another, like, network problem. Like, the attestation being a standard that is adopted across everything, right? It's not an easy problem to solve. And, you know, as somebody who spends 100 hours a week working in crypto related worlds, environments, whatever you want to call it, this is not an easy thing to solve, because even the idea of signing a piece of media, right? Just very basic hypothetical. Say we record this podcast, but we're recording the first one, right? We go and upload that, and then the three of us sign it. We have no reputation, and then another anonymous entity, right, lifts that video before anybody's seen it or before it's been distributed. The person who has the most eyeballs then signs it. Which one is real? And then it becomes the work becomes, oh, was this media uploaded prior to this, right? Can we do a 1-for-1 match on like the DNA of the file? Did it exist previously?
Yeah.
And maybe by making one change, you can completely evade that search. So it feels to me like a lot of this stuff is still narrative based, right? It's like the assumption that you can just like perma verify. So there's all of these layers of social consensus and trust that exist on networks like X, and the big accounts stealing the small accounts meme. The perfect example of this is like, that would be like the basic way to verify this is like, oh, Elon ripped this thing off of this big account, which got it off a small account, which got it off a small account, which started in like
who took it
WhatsApp
off Reddit
somewhere, right? Yeah. And it's like all the way down and it's like a mashup of these two images. It's like, unless everybody in that chain agrees upon the standard by which we're attesting to and verifying this stuff, at a certain point, it just makes no sense or it just breaks down. So it does almost, the more likely outcome in my mind is like, internet is just this free for all, not like mental
fire
nothing
hose
is
of
real,
stuff.
can't trust anything. Like maybe like communication in private becomes more of the, you know, like the trend of groups getting smaller and smaller and smaller and communicating with one another. And then the like monolithic internet is more like this fake mass media thing. And I don't think the average person, to your point, can build the like not can or just wouldn't want to, right? It's like do the necessary diligence to verify that something is real. It's a very like, and I'm sure people have raised absolutely unspeakable amounts of money saying they could solve this problem, but it seems very, very, very difficult to do. And that's the Altman WorldCoin thing ultimately, right? Is the true verifiable thing is like to use some component of somebody's like actual biological
eyeball or whatever
being to verify something, and that has its own ethical quagmire to deal with. But they're obviously a few steps out thinking through this with what is it, sell the problem and the solution at the same time. They're definitely like milking it at both ends.
But that's a great way to put it, Jack, because what I was saying earlier about breaking it into two parts, I didn't finish the second part, which was first part is that's the problem we're talking about. The second part is how do you create a solution for it? And this guy, it seems to be saying, is like, well, using cryptography and using blockchain technology, whatever, you can sign a piece of media the way we've talked about in the pod since the beginning, right? But that is a big assumption that that's the best way to do it, or maybe one of the better ways to do it. And my question, like we've always talked about on the pod, is does it need this, or is there something simpler, more elegant, that is cheaper, that doesn't require a blockchain to actually do this? And for example, in my opinion, when X and Instagram and everyone changed the verification, so did you just realize I just called it checks because I was thinking of Jack's checks project, but the verification on Instagram, remember that changed for people who didn't follow it? It was only famous people or noteworthy people. And then now anyone who pays $5-10 a month can be verified as a real person. Worth it. There we go. Yeah. So regardless, in my opinion, that was a great thing. And for one big reason, like open it up to people. But as you created a whole project around what does verification mean? What does a notable person actually mean? It was too broad a term. But at the same time now, like my experience of the internet is way worse as someone who is just trying to verify, oh, did the president actually say that, or is that a completely made up thing?
Bro, he's got a great check. Come on, man.
There we go.
You're talking about no, they did fix that. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, on every platform is different, though, right?
It doesn't matter if it comes from their account even. Like somebody posting a piece of media that is saying this was captured of this person saying this thing. The idea being to not trust it unless it comes from the account that supposedly said it, right? That's the thing that you're like X or Instagram or whatever else, like they can't solve this problem infinite amounts of compute and AI and like the forcing function of people trying to produce untrue information. And the solution basically always becomes like, give us more of your personal ID. And didn't they just instate like you can't get the revenue share unless you upload,
unless X,
you ID
right?
yourself.
I saw people complaining about it. Yeah, I saw actually Bored Elon, I think, was complaining about it. Friend of the pod too.
I think that like there's again the narrative game around like there is a way to solve this with cryptography is like, yeah, it's kind of true, but it has nothing to do with truth. And people like talking about like truth being the component of this. It's like whatever Trung you said in response earlier to like, it's like I'm putting my reputation on this. That's not me saying it's true. It's saying I'm like attesting to and putting all of my previous actions. I'm like co-signing this piece of content or this thing and assuming some reputational risk for doing so. And in a lot of cases, like people aren't in pursuit of truth on social media for the most part, right? It's like the most popular posts are jokes or like flat out parodies or like piss takes of something, like the literal opposite of quote unquote truth. So it's like, I don't know, like it's a complete disaster of a logical loop that I personally have gotten stuck in thinking about it. And yeah, just the idea of compounding reputation where you just know that it was somebody's intent to distribute something is really the thing that we're already capable of, right? But we still can't agree on a standard of what that means, right? Or like which, there's this great meme that somebody showed me a couple of weeks ago where it's like, there's 15 different ways to do this. We need to invent a way that like combines them all and overtakes everything, replaces it. And then the next frame in the cartoon is there's 16 ways to do this. Yeah. And that's just what we're doing, right? It's just like we're raising money to do this, to do that, to do that. And they're just like, and that's, I guess, why Elon, Zuckerberg, like people who have ownership over these networks that manage billions of connections between people, they're ultimately going to decide what the standard becomes. Like it isn't up to anybody else. It really, like in my mind, it isn't. It's like if you own the rails, you get to determine what the qualifications, what the, you know, what verification means on a per network basis. And nobody's going to do the due diligence beyond that, even if those standards exist, right? That's maybe that's a Jack Rains take on this stuff, but I think that
Jack, when you're talking, that's accurate. Exactly what I was thinking. When you're comparing the internet as a wild, wild west, and you had said maybe just in the group chats people will be verifying with their friends, you nailed it though. It's like, it's actually the group chats and at a larger level. On X, what are we counting on for the truth? Community notes, right? Like literally. It's like, we talked about it before. Community notes is a way to try to solve this problem at scale.
Yeah, distributing it is really the only way to do it. That's a great point. Yeah.
It won't be perfect, but I mean, here's opportunity. You guys we can all have a good laugh here. So this is for the listeners.
The plug in by the congratulations again.
Yeah, well, you will get a good laugh, but because this is exactly to the point. It got community noted.
So read it out for people who only listening.
For the listeners, this is a perfect example of what we're talking about.
And he quoted it before the note was on there, right? Just to put that
before the note, So Trunk Fan puts out, Trunk T Fan, my account obviously puts out, for people who don't know, last Monday.
Sorry, let me switch the view for all three so you can see me and Jack laugh when Trunk is referring to himself as Trunk T Fan. It's even better when you say Trunk Stunner when you're referring to your other alter ego.
Obviously, you probably saw my wife walk down and gave me just like, can't believe this idiot referred to himself in the third person. But so at this point, last Monday, this is coming out Tuesday of the upcoming week. So last Monday, you guys remember, this is one of the funniest things, the Berkshire's market cap as showing on NYSE fell 99.97% because there was a glitch. So obviously, the first thing that comes to my mind is like, how do I make a fake Warren Buffett tweet? And then the Warren Buffett tweet is hodl, just like whatever, hold. And then actually everybody hit me. I was like, dude, you should have said steady lads, deploy more capital.
Oh my God, yeah, that would have been good too. But hodl works good. Hodl was even cleaner.
So my tweet just goes, woo, amazing. Buffett just posted on his platform for the first time in 9 years to clear up this Berkshire issue. Elon quote reposts it with a smiling, laughing face. But then a few hours later, to Jack's point, somebody writes, it's satire, however, can cause a lot of confusion among users since this was a digitally altered image. And got community noted.
That person sounds like fun at parties, right? The one who wrote
exactly.
That.
Right?
And by the way, Trunk, do you know mechanically what the like threshold is for community notes to show that?
Yeah,
like how many people?
We talked about this I think 6 months ago, but I'll run through it again. It has to be, the formula is very smart. It's weighted by, it has to hit a certain X amount of votes, exactly like Jack said. Verified people have to say this is notable and have to comment and put a decision on it. The other part, which is extremely smart, is something will get a community note when people that typically disagree on posts agree on something. So if your voting history is negative for liberal stuff, but positive for Republican stuff, right? As an example. And then another person is the opposite, as in they're very pro-liberal and negative Republican, the vice versa. So if they're voting and their vote histories are the opposites, but they're agreeing on one thing, it's much more likely that will make it. Does that make sense? That's actually quite a smart mechanism.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. It's just like I'm like maybe I'm not.
Well, you keep track of people's vote history, right? Practice. And you have to code things as left or right.
Yeah, and it has to. Yeah, I mean, it has to be unanimous among. I'm just wondering if it's actually a political slant on that stuff as well. It's like how much of a psychographic profile is like.
Sure.
If people typically disagree on like this previous tweet, I mean, it's a fascinating problem to solve. And I think for the most part, it's pretty solid, right? There's been a few examples where like people are gaming it. Like there was a guy in crypto. We talked about the choose rich thing. We did, right? Yeah. Whereas like you're intentionally baiting the community notes to come and dispute the claims that you're making. So it's like there's a little Cobra effect at play there. But then they did that with like just disqualifying revenue, right? For stuff that gets noted.
Yeah, disincentivize anything that's getting noted, which sucks because this one has like 50 million views on it. But no, I think but
it's like, yeah, I guess like it's such a fascinating subject because it's misrepresentation in that case, right? It's like you are creating a piece of media that is designed to mislead. He did not say that, therefore it's fake media. But there are things that exist like on the cusp of that where it's like this is not a real image, you know, like that would not qualify for community notes in the same way.
That's what I mean. This was so dumb. It's so obvious this was fake, right? But
I'm saying, I guess what I'm saying is like, yes, it's so obvious that is fake, and it's almost like you're incentivizing a behavior to like how close to the line can you skirt, like by presenting certain things as facts, or like at what point does your opinion cross into, I don't know, and I just don't understand the subject matter well enough, but it is by far the most. Does Instagram have they instituted anything like this yet?
They actually great you brought it up. I'm gonna pull it right now. Instagram community notes. They're rolling something out exactly like this now. They're rolling it out.
Because Instagram, man, like I have a few friends on there like that just send me reels after reels of just like trite, funny, but hilarious, and it's just like it fascinates me how
you don't have to call me out like that, Jack. Come on. No.
yeah.
I have a friend that sends the most insane reels.
Reels have gotten like really unhinged, man. Like the Instagram algorithm has gotten very good at like serving up like
it's a TikTokification of it all, though, right?
Is it getting insane?
It's getting close to TikTok to me. TikTok for me still gets that next level, but Instagram is almost like stupid. Like it's like, have you ever compared Instagram threads to, or have you even been on threads recently? Like the Twitter clone?
No.
Man, it's so funny to see the difference, right? Like the content on there. I find the same with Instagram Reels is the equivalent of that. I can't remember the exact phrase you guys talked about, and you probably had a nicer way of putting it, but as your audience gets larger, there was like do you remember what you said, Jack?
Jack's got to have a saying about this. No, I think Jack said...
right.
The dumber they get...
Yeah, like on average, right? It's just like...
The larger your audience get, the closer they are...
The bigger your audience is, the dumber they are.
Yeah,
it's like
on average,
it becomes...
This is a numbers game. Yeah. We're not talking
on average, you're making a statement that implies averages, right?
And also, NIA listeners, being such a small, tiny podcast means everyone
savvy,
listens to this.
Intelligent.
We cannot scale past the like the 180 IQ down.
Yeah.
We're just
We'll
stuck.
never be on the other side of the midway.
Absolute polymath geniuses listening.
Seriously, Seriously,
We
man.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Jack
Yeah.
just
You're gonna have
said
to
That's
dumb
what
it
we
down
want.
a bit more, boys. We're gonna have to be a little bit less informed if we want to grow this pod.
we got to do more more vibes, less facts. I mean, we way too many facts. I love how Jack said that. Just polymathic geniuses.
Well, you want to be known well, not well known.
Right.
That's the difference there, you know? You just want that
There you
enough.
go.
They
yeah.
know what's going on. It's deep. But anyway, sorry, back to what you're saying there.
No, let's
Who
do
was
this.
talking? I can't even remember.
No,
That's all right.
okay,
Go on,
no.
Trunk.
Well, we're too polymathic that we just lose. We just assume our
All
listeners
right.
can manage
We
it.
can transition to mastery because we.
Well, this is what I
you know,
want to ask Jack though. Before we do the mastery, is like, Jack, can you summarize your final take on the AI and crypto? Just I'll hit you directly with the question. You set the problem up and you said crypto attestation signatures can be the answer, and then you said, as someone whose career is currently steeped in this, and you know how hard it is to do that, let me ask you the question. Can crypto solve this AI issue of zero marginal cost, instant creation of media that is incredibly lifelike?
I wouldn't say I don't know if solution is what I would how I would position it, but based on what we talked about with like the portability of your reputation is the value proposition, right? So it is like at the network layer, you can maintain a reputation that can be carried with you that doesn't rely on a private network like an X and right now there isn't a network that has reached critical mass that allows you to benefit from that reputation at the scale of an X or an Instagram or whatever. But like my view on it is like first principles wise, it should be possible for me to own all the things that I produce and then plug them into these networks that I then build an audience from, as opposed to giving all my IP directly to a network that runs ads against it and can remove my account tomorrow. Make sense? So that, like, remember like RSS feeds, like in my mind, that like it's more true or analogous to that, where it's like you as an individual can publish work and verify that you published it, that it's yours, and move it onto all of these other networks, as opposed to your reputation being tied to this thing that you don't have control over, really. Like
Social
there's a
media,
policy
I mean, yeah.
change and
Algorithm
nobody really
change or
takes
whatever,
it seriously. But it is a huge thing, right? And it's like all the politics of the person that owns the platform changes, and you are then no longer, you're a persona non grata. And this is, I don't post controversial stuff but by like pop culture definition, right? But that to me is the fundamental difference. Is like being able to sign your work in a like with a public good, with a like ungatekeepable asset, signature, private key that is yours that nobody can take away from you, rather than make sure your credit card and your driving license are uploaded to Twitter and we'll tell you what you have published and here's the history of your stuff. So over time, like the portability of that reputation is where the value is stored, not on network X. Right? And X, no pun intended there, like replace for whatever the network of the day is.
That okay, got it. That makes a lot of sense. And nope, that was a good answer. I'm good. Bilal, anything more?
Oh, that was great. Thanks for summarizing that. I mean, I think there is a transition there, real quick. Trung, I think we probably got. Have you guys got 10 minutes or so to talk?
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
10, 20. Let's do this.
All right, cool. Trung, why don't you, I'll skim through your stuff here. I mean, I can pull out some stuff that was interesting to me, but do you want to talk about your write-up on the pursuit of mastery? This is a really interesting idea. I think a lot of people listen to this have their own versions of this, whether it is shit posting like you, or writing, or creating stuff like Jack, or just in their own personal world. I think that's something that probably brings a lot of people together. So what is it? First of all, why did you want to study that and write about it in the first place? And what were your main findings here?
All right. So the article that I wrote is titled Jerry Seinfeld, Ichiro Suzuki, and the Pursuit of Mastery. And the reason I wrote this is Jerry Seinfeld. Have you guys seen his new movie Unfrosted on Netflix?
No, but I had it saved to watch.
Yeah. So I've
is it
actually heard
good?
it's not that good.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
The point is he went on. Well, I heard this from a friend of the pod, Adam Singer. Adam Singer said Jerry Seinfeld's press tour promoting Unfrosted was way better than the show, the movie itself. And it's because all he's doing at this point is dropping knowledge. He's 70 years old. He's a billionaire. Like, this is a guy you actually want to learn from. So David Remnick, the editor of The New Yorker, in a really good interview, David Remnick asked this question. Is it possible that you've probably made $1 or $2 from Seinfeld, yet you're still working so hard? Why is that? So if people don't know, Jerry Seinfeld did his show from 1989 to 1998. It's worth $1 billion just from that show. His syndication fees from that show now. But when he retired, he didn't stop. Like he went back to his original passion, which was stand-up comedy, and he literally will still do 2-3 times a week. He'll still do the trade, right? And his answer to Dave Remnick explains why. He says, the only thing in life that's really worth having is good skill. Good skill is the greatest possession. The things that money buys are fine. They're good. I like them. But having a skill is the most important thing. He goes, I learned this from reading an issue of Esquire magazine. And this is the money quote. He goes, pursue mastery that will fulfill your life. You will feel good. And that's his whole point. He's like, pursue mastery. Forget about the external benefits from it. And a big part of why he says that is because pursuing mastery is something, for everything else that's going on in your life, is something you'll wake up to and kind of ground your day to day. You see what I'm saying? It's like, I'll give you my best example of it. It's not even pursuing mastery. I just remember when I was moving between countries, you guys have moved. Going to the gym, for example, is a thing that can ground you when you've moved to a new country. It's something that you know you can do every single day. Maybe not trying to become Ronnie Coleman, but it's something you can do and it grounds you. I think that's similar to his idea of mastery, in that everything in your life can be going to shit. Relationships, professional, the world around you. But you have to wake up and you still have to live your day-to-day life, right? And pursuing mastery gets you on the stairwell to something. I think it's similar to Jack's idea of actually about this is pointless. So let me throw that out there for you guys to opine on. And then I will tell you, I found the Esquire magazine. That's the whole point of why I wrote the article. I found it. And it's incredible. So let me throw it out to you guys. Thoughts on that?
Can I do a reverse transition to the AI topic we were just talking about?
Yes.
That's what we're here for.
So there was this like fairly contentious subject all over crypto / NFT Twitter circles over the last week or so around the use of AI in art. So like people appreciating something and then learning how it was made and then quickly losing their appreciation for said thing. And there was a really articulate take on how AI intersects with mastery by this guy, Chris. I'll read it out. It's like 3 tweets, but he says AI art versus mastery as a means of fulfillment. I suspect that this is actually the deeper chord that's being struck in the whole debate. It's not about art per se, but computing offering a commodified competition to an area where people can find fulfillment beyond capitalism. Mastery is a practice that can be appreciated for its own sake, but there's a whole bundle of things associated with mastery that AI immediately threatens. Some are external, like status and recognition, and some are internal, willingness to continue, satisfaction with progress, and sunk costs. And since mastery is such a daunting thing to pursue to begin with, seeing the ancillary benefits of it become threatened with the click of a button triggers a whole set of reactions that manifest themselves as removed from that pursuit, but are ultimately tied to it.
Oh, wow, that is deep, man.
Incredibly well written, right?
Yeah, so let me unpack that, and Jack, tell me if I got this right. He's saying mastery has these internal benefits, which is kind of how Seinfeld would think of it. It's like it's fulfilling you because you know you can always get better, right? But what comes with mastery is, you kind of mentioned, is there's these financial benefits, status benefits. And is
but you know what I think
art,
is funny, though? I don't think you can separate them, and especially like in comedy, mastery is like about making more people laugh. It's like there is no internal pursuit of mastery in comedy. So anyway,
that's interesting.
I feel like people
my contra would be crafting a perfect joke. As in you.
Yeah, but you don't know. You don't know that though, do you? Or maybe. Well, you laughing at it before you tell anyone.
A layered joke, right? Is like, okay, actually, this is actually interesting.
That's a good. Both of you making good points because it's about the.
Well, go ahead.
Well, but comedy is a good example because some people don't get that joke. Does that mean the joke is no longer funny if the audience was different? You know, so it's like
making yourself laugh is the ultimate thing, right?
That's true. Then you really made it in life if you're just laughing at your own stuff. You know,
no, hold on. I'll tell you this right now.
That's strong every day, probably.
No, it is. I'm not serious. If I laugh out loud at a dumb meme, like it doesn't happen often, but sometimes I'll make a meme and I'll like just fucking like snorkel like an idiot. I'll be like, this one's gonna rip.
It's a banger.
That's the pursuit of mastery right there. Sure.
But it is a good, all jokes aside, it is a good point.
Ironically, it is, yeah.
But it's a really good differentiation between Trung. There's other times where you're posting and you're probably thinking this one's going to get X amount of likes or reaction versus just that innate thing, which you're probably really going for, which is, I know this is funny regardless.
Yes.
Because that's the metaphor here, right? It sounds so obvious and silly, but it's like when you can really focus on that part, which is, it doesn't matter how many people like this, is I know this shit's funny. That's where you actually are doing it for the mastery, not just the outcome of.
Well, let me actually make something very tangible. Scott Adams, the Dilbert cartoonist and now obviously political commentator. I know we've read his work. You know, he has the systems versus goal, that whole idea.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about it here, but he has one of the greatest lines about what he tries to accomplish with his Dilbert cartoons. And it's similar to what you said, Bilal. It's just like you're looking to, you're trying to evoke an emotion. He goes, my goal, and I know I've succeeded, is if I get a physical reaction from a reader, and that can mean something as in they might even reply to my email. They might reply to me and send me a message. That's a physical thing. As in you've gotten them to move, right? It's one thing to scan, go through your feed and like maybe tap a like, but like a physical action, you're getting somebody to open a email prompt window, type an email, sit in their chair and hit send. That to him is the equivalent of getting like this, like a chortle, right? Like you're trying to make people move. And I love how you explained that, but I was like, that is it, right? That is the pursuit of mastery. Well, that is like...
Yeah. And I think, Trung, this is a great specific point. I think the difference between master... I want to make a differentiation between mastery and the pursuit of mastery. And there's a big difference because I'm looking at the dictionary right now. Mastery is defined as the comprehensive knowledge or skill in a subject or accomplishment, right? But that you could say that's something great, like everyone should want that. But to me, the idea is the pursuit, because ultimately it's not necessarily about becoming the best tennis player in the world, or because
it's the journey.
It's the journey, and it's also just being able to tangibly enjoy that part. It's the pursuit. It's like, actually, I'm not going to be the best tennis player, but when I play, I love the feeling of hitting the ball. And I'm like, okay, smash it. I'm like, all right, next month, I want to feel like I was tangibly better. And that is really kind of what if you can actually get addicted to that feeling, that's where you're actually, doing it right, I think.
That's the grounding, right? It grounds your life because you're seeking that. And well, let me ask you, what is it in your life? Again, you're not trying to become Roger Federer or Steph Curry, but what is it in your day-to-day where you're finding that?
I think it's different stages of my life. It's been different things. When I was going really hard with Collab a few years ago, I was like, I want to become the best interviewer I could become. It doesn't mean I'm a Joe Rogan or a Tim Ferriss. It's like, let me lean into the things I'm good at and, account for all those things, and let me practice so much and be so analytical about it so that I can keep improving. I've had that phase. Right now it's like gym stuff. I'm like going a lot, trying to not be injured and not be like an old man. So for me, it's like, even that is like, I'm really trying to hone in on when I'm pushing that weight or I'm doing whatever. It's like, can I really enjoy that feeling? And the big thing for me is like not ego lifting, for example, right? Like for most of my 20s, I was probably lifting for no reason, just going to injure myself, and then I can't even do anything. But now I'm like, it doesn't even need to be heavy. It needs to be enough resistance that I feel that feeling and is serving my goals, but I'm actually enjoying that process enough to keep going. It sounds very, obvious and cliche, a lot of this stuff, but I think the difference is knowing it and actually doing it is a different thing because you're.
Well, you've separated a goal like the end being the purpose, which is like what's my max versus I'm just gonna go get a little bit better at this because
and enjoy and I honestly it's like enjoy it, and everyone's different. Some people just enjoy a challenge. Like I'm not necessarily addicted to challenge. I'm like I want to enjoy every single thing I do in my day as much as I can, and there's some things I'm gonna have to always do that I don't like, but if I can minimize some of those but find things that really give me that feeling of sharpening my sword. Like the other thing is like tennis, or nowadays I play pickleball because it's easier to play. And it's like, you know, there's a lot more court time essentially. That is another one. I'll be on YouTube watching these videos of like, let me learn the tactics, let me learn the thing. Or football. Like, I'm never going to be Jose Mourinho, Arsene Wenger, an actual manager. But like when I watch football now, I understand it at such a high level than I did say 5 years ago. Like you're watching how the play
unfolds and you're like, oh, they're going to go this way.
Yeah, and the tactical side, the strategy, the management side, like all the things that you learn the levels, and you're like, the appreciation for that thing goes up significantly. People do that in their own, you know, worlds, whether it's food, wine, like all that kind of stuff. Board games, stuff like I think that's really important to have.
Well, let's ask
life,
Jack
man.
actually. Yeah. Jack, outside of your art, which is obvious, you are in a pursuit of something along those lines. Is there anything? Well, let's ask that. Do you believe that you're in the pursuit of mastery for your art?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
What about personal hobby stuff? What have you done over the years that would be falling to the same?
Trying to be a better dad and husband.
Ooh.
There we go. Yeah.
You know Celia's listening to this. Oh, man.
That is the most, like, especially when you're trying to do something else. That is the most difficult thing to balance, I suppose, or like, it's like, that's a truly infinite game, right? It's like the way you react in certain moments, or the, you know, how prepared you can be for certain things is like, before that, I don't know, outside of that, I don't know. Like I never really, like my work and hobby shit just converged to the point where if I have free time, I would do the exact same thing as if I was working now. So like drawing the line between that, it definitely become, and that's probably not that healthy. Like my, one thing I would like to do more of, I want to race cars.
Oh, that's sick.
Have you started down that road?
I'm not going to be, I've done like a few like little courses and stuff. And that is like, you have a true appreciation for like, man, people who know how to do this and have practiced, you know, done their thousands of hours. The level of difference is so obscene. Like I remember the first time I ever went in a track car. By the time I got to the first corner, I'm like, I'm dead. There's no way this guy is going to be able to slow this car down enough to turn the corner. Like gives you a completely different perspective on like physics and like human reaction times, mastery, whatever you want to call it. So like things that I'm personally interested in, that would be the one that is like, you can really feel the feedback loop getting better, faster, and things that there's this amazing thing when you race a car where it's like, don't look at the corner you're driving into, look at the next one. And your hands will just put the car where it needs to go. It's like stuff like that, whereas people have studied like a subject
muscle
matter
memory, right?
stuff,
Autopilot
unlocks.
Yeah.
Incredible. That's like one thing I'd really want to get better at, but
Jack, can I say that's the interesting level to the pursuit of the mastery is the first stage of knowing, oh, I need to learn about that whole thing, that the geometrics things of even like when I've gone like go-karting or whatever, like you're like, I didn't know the basics, right? And my friends who play this
the racing
every day,
line and
yeah, and like the corners and I forgot the apex or whatever it's called. That alone, I was like, damn, I didn't even know the basics. And then they're going on next levels. And then you see them, they're going to the gym doing neck exercises like they're Lewis Hamilton. And I have these two friends in particular who in the pandemic, they would race every day online with each other. And that's like how they kept their lives alive at that time. It's amazing. But go on,
so fun. And like that's like a very binary pursuit too, because there's a lap time associated with that. And you could do it by yourself too, right? Nice. It's like something interesting about that, where having something finite is interesting. And that's why I think a lot of people get deeply into working out when there's like metrics associated with it, because
definitely
you can see the progress in yourself, and it gives you like these milestones. And I was just gonna say one more thing about the like comedy thing or the intrinsic and extrinsic thing that was basically triggered me to think about it when the AI controversy was coming up. Again, it's like if you're involved in the debates about who is and isn't whatever you claim to be, you're not pursuing that. I would argue that like you're outside of the pursuit to the extent that you think you have time, or not even that you think you have time, that you have that reaction when you see somebody passing you or taking a shortcut or doing whatever else. It's like that reveals that this pursuit was not about the pursuit.
Oh yeah.
It was
You want
about
the status,
being seen a certain way.
recognition.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody else is doing this in a way that I determined to be the shortcut and getting more recognition than I am showing up every day, right? It's like there's another
memes.
great mate, there's another great exactly, stealing memes is a good example. Seinfeld documentary where he goes around with this young comedian. It was on Netflix. I don't know if you ever seen it. And the guy's like, man, when am I gonna be as big as you? When am I gonna like he's like really frustrated after every show. And he's like, mate, don't you dare fucking complain about what you're doing. Like you're doing it right now. Like you get to go up on stage and tell you're doing it. Like you've completely lost the plot if you're comparing yourself to me, because like I'm not you. You're never going to be me, vice versa. Like the whole idea that you're so lost in it that you're unable to even think about comparing yourself to someone else is like, that's, you know, you don't even know you're in the pursuit because it is. Again, the cliches keep coming here. It's like you're just showing up against who you were yesterday. Or it's like this thing that you couldn't imagine doing anything else. You just wake up and want to do it. Yeah. Versus how can I see there's the iodine beats thing. It's like if you're a horse, look straight. If you start like looking left and right, you're gonna fall over, and that's what happens.
Well, Trung, that was great, Jack. Trung, you wrote about this.
I know that clip he's talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, Trung, you wrote about this in your article.
Yeah, I may not.
No, not that. I was going to build on what you said. No, what you said was related, but I was saying there's this idea of yonshin, I think it was, and the line here, it says, this wonderful Japanese word translates roughly as unbroken concentration or continuing awareness. I think that's a really cool, like if you think of the visual, what Jack was describing, like the other one, we got a reference once a week, Sailorism, right? Like the laser eyes, like we've talked about laser eyes as a meme here. But I do love that word, the unbroken concentration. Like that is, like we've all felt it in different ways. Like I get it a lot in like sports, just because you're completely stripped away from everything. You're forced to concentrate. And actually, like I grew up playing cricket, right? So like cricket, there's a leather ball that is like if it hits you in the wrong place, you're done, right? Like you genuinely, you really can get in trouble with it. And it's not like baseball where you're using a glove, like you're using your hands to catch the ball in the field and stuff like that. And so there is a forced feedback loop that like you need to be concentrating, right? But you need to be immersed in it, because otherwise like you can have some issues. And this is a game where people play for 5 days sometimes and draw. Like there's a level of mastery that comes from a sport like that, which has honestly been lost a lot with the newer versions of the game, 2020, which funnily enough, there's a World Cup going on right now in the US for cricket, by the way, and the Caribbean.
Are you watching?
Is it?
Yeah, I've been watching a little bit of highlights. I'll watch more of the actual bigger games as they get there. I tried looking at tickets to go to see Pakistan, India in New York. Guess how much the ticket was? The first ticket, the lowest price I could see is like $1,000 just for. Like,
it's going to be mayhem. At that
my
thing,
God,
right?
that's mental. Where do they even play that?
It's like far out. I forgot the name. Yeah. My dad was telling me yesterday, he's like, oh, it looks pretty close. I'm like, no. It ain't that close, Dad. I'll tell you what's close is 12-minute walk down the road that I'm used to. None of this like 2 hours on a train vibe. But no, honestly, I'm open to going. But also, to be very honest, Pakistan not the best right now compared to India. So I got
you don't want to see your boys taking an L.
Yeah. I've done, because Jack, were you in the UK in '99 when the Cricket World Cup happened? I'm assuming you were.
Yeah.
99.
Yeah.
That was one of the best. Sorry, this is a tangent. People don't care about cricket, but
hit it.
But man, just seeing that live, man, oh my God, that was one of the, because back then you could run onto the pitch like at the end of the game, everyone ran on the pitch.
Incredible.
It was the most insane. Oh my god, that was fun. But anyway,
Boys, we got Euros coming up, haven't we?
yeah,
We're on the cusp.
Euros in a couple weeks.
And
yeah,
the
on the cusp.
Olympics.
Olympics, Copa
Euros
America
is the greatest, man. Euros is just.
We're gonna have George Mack for people. By the way, is gonna come on. It might be while that's going on. So we're all gonna be full Oasis mode by that point. Jack's gonna switch
we need to get
back
our
to being a
predictions
hooligan
in as well for Euros.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Do some
maybe
studying as well, Tron.
Actually,
I'll
by the time this comes
Obviously-
out, it will be close to it.
No, well, I'll educate myself for that. We'll do that in 2 weeks from this recording, but it'll be like mid-June. Let me tie up some loose ends here. We can skip me talking about the sympathizer. We can do it another time. But no, Jack. So I didn't mention that part. I love that you brought that example. I know exactly the clip you're talking about. It's backstage, right? And the comedian's complaining, and Seinfeld just loses his shit. He's like, bro, it's like this is what you want to do.
This is what you wanted to do. You're doing it. Yeah.
If you were me, you'd still be doing this, right? So there's that. No, you nailed that. And there's a part, the Bilal is mentioning that Japanese concentration thing. I'll tie off a couple of things from this Esquire article, which I think you'll appreciate, Jack. So George Leonard wrote this article for Esquire. It ended up getting so popular that he was asked to write a book about it. And here are traits that are shared amongst people that pursue mastery. So I'll say a couple of them. This is what he said. Love your thoughts. The first trait he says is enthusiasm. Whether it's in a sport or an art or some other work, the masters are shamelessly enthusiastic about their calling. I think this kind of reflects what you said, as in your hobby is actually kind of your job now. Like, and that you even noted that maybe that's not the best way to live your life in terms of balance.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's such a phenomenal thing at the same time, though. It's like it's a massive blessing to be,
But you're not complaining is what I'm saying, right? Like you and Celia are very happy. This is the route you're on for your family, even if it means sometimes you're working 100 hours a week.
Yes.
All right, another one here. I like your thoughts on this one, actually. This is a very good one. Playfulness. So this is what George Leonard writes. Obsessives are dead serious. Those on the path of mastery are willing to take a chance and play a fool. And he goes, a high school physics teacher is likely to be more somber and like dour-faced than Einstein. Because Einstein is actually...
Yeah, or like Richard Feynman is another great example. Yeah.
Exactly. So what do you think that is where when you're...
I think is you can't contain yourself. I feel like that is the feedback loop, right? It's like the laugh is a good analogy there, where it's like, imagine being like a serious comedian or whatever, or not like experiencing the thing that you want people to experience when they consume whatever it is you produce. Like there is something like, I think there may be a couple like at least external like contradictions to that. Like think of like a Gordon Ramsay or something, where it's like his whole personality. I want to do an episode on Gordon Ramsay, by the way.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think this guy is like the most ludicrously productive, incredible, like guys be one of the hardest working dudes alive.
Dude, let's do a Ramsay
Every
episode.
time you go on the TV, it's like, here's a new franchise that Ramsay's come up with, and he's shot like 20 hours of content. Anyway, but his like outgoing personality, and, you know, like I guess you see him having a good time, but it's like in some ways like seriousness in certain fields, or like the Jiro sushi is another example that comes up thinking about food. He's like, he's not dicking around in there, right? He's that, he's just like
very stoic,
surgical about it. So I think there may be exceptions to that, but sorry, carry on with the next one.
No, so Bilal, all I was doing is I'm listening.
Yeah, I could hear you. I could hear you.
Yeah. So you heard that one. So
the
playfulness
is a good,
enthusiasm.
That's a great one.
I'll add to Bilal's thing about zanshin, the Japanese word about unbroken concentration. The thing I'll add is this. It's just an example they had. There are some people who are so obviously on that they give us a life just by walking onto the field or room. We see this vividly in certain sports. It was said of the legendary Ben Hogan that other golf pros learned a lot about the game just by studying the way they moved down the fairway, because you just knew this guy's zeroed in. Actually, very similar to the horse, the beats, right? It's just like, that's it. It's total tunnel vision. Let me finish with, I'll finish with this. I like you guys' thoughts if you guys have felt this through your life. So I'll say two things. So this magazine, the Esquire magazine, had various drawings of different types of mastery, and something that George Leonard, the writer, said was he was learning from his test instructor that there are basically two main lessons for mastery and why a lot of people fail. The two main lessons are this, is that a lot of mastery sucks. You're on a plateau. You're not feeling the day-to-day improvement. And then sudden bursts of mastery or progress happen. And it's exactly the phrases he uses. He says, learning something new involves relatively brief spurts of progress, each of which is followed by a slight decline to a plateau somewhat higher than what preceded it. You must be willing to spend most of your time on a plateau to keep practicing when you seem to be getting nowhere. I mean, this is pointless. This is the Jack's famous grab is like, a lot of the experience of doing this is nothing. There is no external feedback. There is no feeling of this.
It's funny, Erica said that too, right? It's like you just
right.
At a certain point. Yeah.
Erica from Fruit 52 CEO, former Barstool CEO, said that last week. Yeah. She said a lot of it is just, I mean, that's Jack's.
You just gotta be a lunatic. I think that is like you, by definition, you're an outlier, right? It's like there's a load of those like hustle post bullshit, like the lonely road or whatever. It's like the road less traveled is whatever. I don't know. 2 seats in a Lamborghini and 50 on the bus or whatever they normally say on this. But it's like there is some.
Yeah, have you seen those two guys, the comedians that do those the complete cliche
like the piss
business
takes
one?
Of it.
Like the one is like how I've got he's like, oh, I delegate everything, and he's so serious, and you're like, where's this going? Like this guy, and I was like, how's this got so many views? And he's like, I delegate everything. Now I delegate. I've got a guy that comes in that sleeps with my wife, and it's like, oh my, and he keeps a deadpan straight face, and the other guy's like, oh yes, of course, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Can you
that is
send
incredible.
Me this?
Oh, have I never said? I need to find
this?
it right now. Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
can you send? This is incredible, dude.
You know, Elon Musk, he doesn't cook. Bezos, he's not doing laundry. Zuckerberg, he's not mowing his own lawn. All these guys, they outsource this stuff. That I do the same. Now I have a guy that comes in to sleep with my wife because I don't have the time to be distracted from anything which isn't growing revenue.
Now, doesn't that make you a cuck?
No, that's just good business. Anything which isn't making you profit is distracting you from how you level up.
Right.
One other playfulness contradictor, Goggins. I know you'll like that one, fan.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing,
maybe,
Jack.
Maybe Goggins has a persona off camera.
Oh, he even like talks about it. Like he becomes Goggins. Like he knows.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I've heard it because I've heard him talk about it in the audiobooks because he basically says like, he's like actually quite apparently an introverted guy. He doesn't really like talking to people.
Yeah, I love it.
But then he even switches from David Goggins to Goggins, like the alter ego, and he's like, and then now he reposts a lot of these joke videos made of him, and he'll be like,
he has a sense of humor.
Oh, he has a great sense of humor about it. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Like,
all I've seen of Goggins is just him shouting into the camera, running.
Well, dude, you know who else does this? Is Beyonce. She turns into Sasha Fierce. She has an onstage personality. No, that's great, guys. I got nothing more to say, man. That was a great episode, guys. Do we have any more thoughts on that?
I was just looking for that clip right now because it was.
Sam. Yo, can you play that, or should we get
I'm gonna try
Rafa the G to play it? Oh my God! Do you know the name? Hold on. Let's just do this. We're gonna pause and see if you can find it, and we can end on that.
Yeah. I don't know if I can find it right now. I'm not Jamie with it.
Have you seen the misspelled entrepreneur post on Instagram where they
Please
do the
send it, man. Bro, I need this content. This stuff. I need those the rev share from creator stuff because I got community noted. So let me steal these. They're gonna go viral.
There you go, boys.
Go.
Not starting a side hustle, not tipping your landlord, leaving the casino early, not setting off illegal fireworks, not trying meth, and having children. This is a good one. Entrepreneur. It's like, here you go. Fake wealth. Greenland, yeah. I'm not even gonna read these out. But go and look them out. Go and look them up yourself.
Wait, what's this? Oh yeah, so this guy's got a crazy account, eh? Yo, go to 6 books to make you a millionaire. Oh, bro. The Walter
Minecraft guide collection. OJ Simpson. R.L. Stein, Goosebumps. Yeah, there's varying degrees of funny in here, but there's like I've seen some absolute bangers come out of this account. For
Dude,
sure.
I'm gonna do the 6 books to make you a millionaire. That is hysterical, man. All right,
There's
amazing
there's
episode,
a lot of
boys.
material for you in here.
Amazing episode, boys. Amazing episode. Hold on, guys. Before we bounce, I just want to say it sounds like we got to do an episode of Ramsey. We got to do the Euro picks coming up. Jack, I wrote an article about Ramsey, actually, his apprenticeship with Marco Pierre White. I'll send it to you guys and we can read through that and do the full thing.
I would love to do a Ramsey app.
Oh my goodness.
Have you ever written anything on him, Trung?
Yeah, I did one where about his apprenticeship with Marco Pierre White.
Sorry, you just said that.
Yeah, he hysterical. No, it's fine. We've been recording for 2.5 hours.
We've been there for a while, but we do well.
Yeah.
I was one eye on entrepreneur over here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what happens. No,
I
great,
just sent it to you, boys.
Great chat. Great write-up, Trung, as well. Rafa, we can link to that. It's titled Jerry Springer, Ichiro...
Jerry Springer! Jerry Seinfeld!
Jerry Seinfeld. Jesus Christ.
Dude,
Pursuit of Mastery.
Dude, true story. Jerry Springer had a he was a mayor. He was like...
he was the master of his world, for sure,
Dude,
bro.
people thought he was going to run for president of the United States. Like, that's how good of a politician he was. Seriously. We might have to do Jerry Springer episode. But anyways, let's do that. All right, man. Amazing.
Good chat. I really appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.